All right, everyone remember to sign into the document. Do we have any new faces today? See a lot of familiar faces. Okay, next standing item, release planning and updates. Should we start with the life cycle, Natalie?
Yes, we are currently working on implementing the 06 APIs, and I believe every issue that will go into the next release is being worked on at the moment, so we're in good shape.
Awesome. What about pack? Looks like David's not here today. Do you want to give an update, Javier?
There is no current update for pack, but I do have an update for Tecton. Given that it is the end of the month, we will, or I say we, but most likely myself, will be publishing 2 updated tasks to the Tecton catalog, as well as a new Tecton pipeline. So look out for that. And I'm hoping to also publish a blog post soon thereafter that hopefully will market this a little bit more. That's it for me.
Awesome. Looks like Steven's here now. Normally around says, do you want to take it over for the RFC, Steven?
If you want me to.
I'm happy to do it too.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm gonna have to do it.
Do me a favor. Let me share my screen here. I think that's the right one. Does everyone see a bunch of PRs? Great. Okay. Starting with the oldest one, project descriptor, flexibility. This is back in draft. Do you have any updates here, Terrence?
I think I might close that out actually soon and just write a new one based on the discussion we had, I want to say like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Sorry, I'm still catching up from post text apocalypse from last week, but yeah.
No worries. All right. Application mix-ins still in draft. Looks like Joe's not here right now. I think he's coming to this meeting late, so I can probably skip over that one. Create Stackify repo. It looks like this has the required approvals. Did you want a chance to review this, Stephen, before we move it into final comment period?
Nope, all good to move. I've already looked at it. I just haven't done a final pass yet, but it's good.
Yeah, I think I still need to do a final pass as well, but I can do that right now so we can move
Oh,
it.
sorry. I like scanned this badly. I think we need either
me or Joe, but
yeah,
I can
you or
put
Joe.
NY.
Okay, so action item there is Terrence, Joe, and Stephen to re-review. Group additions to builder order. Sorry, did you say something, Terrence? Was that just laggy from before?
I was just going to say, why don't we just move Stackify? I'm putting it now. I just have to wait another week. It's been going for a while.
All right, let's do it right now. I'll throw the label on yours. I remember to come back, assuming that I'm going to take your verbal agreement that you're going to.
Yeah, I just put my vote in now, so we should be all good here.
Okay, I'll come back and update this with the date.
Have a week to.
Sorry if I was talking over you. You're cutting out a little bit. I don't know which of our internets is slow. Next up is group additions to builder order, which is already in final comment period. I believe this was waiting for issues to be created for the platform and learning team before merging. So maybe platform and learning maintainers can take that as an action item so we can get this merged. Okay. Adding builder key in project descriptor RFC. This also looks like it has, does this have enough approvals? Maybe we need one more from Joe or Steven. This is an RFC to allow folks to set builder and project tumble. I was trying to convince Wes to also add run image and default process type while we're here. But I think he might not want to do that. And the RFC is, I approved it anyways, because I think it's good as is.
I think it's pretty well scoped as is.
So I think we need reviews from Steven and Joe on this one. Can add you guys explicitly.
I can take a look right after this.
Okay, and we have a new draft. Was this something that you wanted to talk about today, Dan, or are we not ready to look at this yet?
It's a work in progress. There's like I have a question about this kind of process, which is this is like some changes we would like to make just to the platform. And so we don't really have another place to put an RFC like this other than in this place. I wonder if it's the right place. But
I think from a process standpoint, we say explicitly in the RFC that there can be sub-team specific RFCs that go in this repo, but the approval process is technically different in that it requires approval from the sub-team maintainers. I don't think we've used that a lot in the past, but maybe this would be a candidate.
okay, awesome.
Do we need labels for that or a different label?
We already have labels for the sub-teams. So I wonder if there's no spec changes and if it's only has one sub-team label, that would be sufficient to say it's for a specific sub-team. Whereas something with multiples cross-cutting, I don't know what folks think. Sounds like that's a part of our process we need to iron out, but maybe we don't need to do it right now as part of this RFC review. And that is it. Going back to the agenda, next item is CMB roadmap ideas GitHub discussion. You want to take that, Terrence?
Yeah, so I put that on here. Hopefully I'm not still cutting out. We're on the leadership side, we're talking about roadmap for the upcoming year, and we have been for a little while, but we wanted to basically open up for ideas from the broader community. So linked in the agenda is linked to a GitHub discussion where we're hoping to have that async. We decided against, and you're welcome to talk about stuff in Slack, but we decided against from having Slack be the main point of the conversations just because we don't have history and we didn't want to kind of lose that information, be able to collect it in a single place. So we'll be having that open for the next week. I'll update the post actually to have that date on there too. So we want to meet again as leadership team sometime at the end of next week to basically just take a look at everything people have posted. And we'll also be posting stuff in there too, and basically come up with something for the coming year.
Sounds good. So please, everyone, go add whatever you're most excited about seeing in Buildpacks or what annoys you the most. Next item is registry launch. I know Joe and Travis were working on this, but I don't see either of them here. So there's someone here that wants to, who added this, who wants to speak to it.
Maybe we just wait till, I think Joe's supposed to come back in the second half, so maybe we'll just bump this till he gets back. But as far as I know, he wants to do something this week, but I haven't heard anything else.
We can sort of guess from the topics of the items here, where it'd be nice if everyone updated their build packs with descriptions and keywords. I know we haven't done that on the Paketo side yet. It seems like there are some issues that are linked here blocking the release. We can punt this to the end, but unfortunately we're at the end of the agenda that we have listed for today. Is there anything that isn't on the agenda that, given we have so much extra time, anyone would like to talk about right now?
I see we have Google Buildpacks and Heroku Buildpacks and Paketo Buildpacks mentioned on there. Does Red Hat have some Buildpacks that were worth?
It's a very valid question at this point. I'm seeking approval as to how much I'm allowed to say.
Just if there are other sets of open source Buildpacks that could be published to the registry, just want to encourage as
Yeah.
wide
I mean,
as possible.
I'll give my perspective, but understand I'm speaking as a person, not as a company here. You understand the way that's played. But basically, I'm very interested in Buildpacks. I believe there's a lot of purpose to them, and I think they will solve a need that Red Hat has for how to distribute supportable applications that are built on Red Hat runtimes. I've got to convince the right people at the right levels that this is important so that we can move forward with a rather large cross-cutting team to get this working, because obviously I can't write all of these myself. My skills are mainly in Java. I'll need the other Red Hat runtimes teams to be on board to add their skills to the appropriate packs, and then we'll need to get the images published and supported and maintained and continually updated whenever we update our base image, and all of that means that we've got to get commitments in place before we can jump in and say that yes, this is something we can do at a supportable level. But from a technology perspective, this is perfect and what I want. So
it's great to hear. I really just meant if you have something already,
There are various Red Hat build packs in existence today. I'm not going to list them. They exist. If you search on GitHub, you'll find them. But they're mostly one-to-ones because of the discussions we had not last week, the week before. Because we can't install the RPMs, we've got a one-to-one builder to build pack to run image correlation across a whole number of those. So I think we're at the point where we've already started messing with the technology, but we're uncertain at this point as to whether we want to roll forwards with that model, because whatever we do at this point directly impacts the customers, because they'll have to understand how many thousands of builder images we'll be generating if we continue to propagate in that model, and I don't think that's viable. So we'd rather not share those in a way, because then people could get the wrong idea of what it is we're actually trying to do with these in the long run.
Got it. Makes sense.
Cool.
On the Google side, I can say we're not really ready to put our build packs up on the registry because we have some pretty ill-defined interfaces between our build packs. We never thought about trying to make them standalone or have others integrate into them, and we were looking to refactor it. So we plan to make this available at some point, but it's not going to be in the very short term.
That makes sense. I feel like we've just thrown all of ours up there, even though we could do a better job documenting the interfaces between the components. But if you have sort of like a multi-build pack that compiles the components together that could just be used, like that might be a good candidate to put up, even if you don't put up the others, but no pressure, just suggesting it. All right. Anything else anyone would like to talk about?
I think there's only other one thing, and it's only because we don't have anything else to discuss, but I'll bring it up because obviously I've worked implementing a platform, and I've worked implementing builders now, going from the specs as written, and I gave a huge long list of feedback on an issue somewhere on the platform spec. I could go do the similar thing for the stack spec, but I'd kind of want to know, is there a purpose to doing this? Because the platform spec, there's no sign of that shifting as a result of that. I know we discussed that whether or not it was better for me to give it as just as a feedback, or whether to try and structure it as a potentially an RFC, because the scale of change would be big. But how open are you guys to the idea of reworking the specs to draw out the concept of a stack spec separate to draw out the platform spec apart from the lifecycle spec and the others? Because today they're very fused together. This is my feedback, that the platform spec keeps talking about the responsibilities of a lifecycle binary, and that's not the function of a platform. And until we get a spec that says this is exactly what a platform must do, you can't claim compliance if you're implementing a platform. You can claim that you hope it will work with Buildpack 0.5, but there's all sorts of phrasing in there that sort of hints that I'm trying to validate things that are actually the stack author's responsibility, or the Buildpack author's responsibility, or the implementer of the lifecycle's responsibility, and I can't validate or guarantee any of those from a platform perspective.
Something I've thought about a lot, because I have similar impressions to you about the current state of the spec, and I probably already would have put up an RFC for this if there weren't. It's been a busy time lately. But my 2 cents is that I feel like stack spec should be a separate spec, and I know we've sort of socialized this idea before, and it seems like people are rather warm to it. So it's the kind of thing that a proposal for would probably take some work, would be taken seriously, and could be worked on. When you talk about separating platform from lifecycle spec, I think about it a little bit differently, in that I think what we call the platform spec right now is really a lifecycle spec. It's not a platform spec at all. And but it specifies the platform API, which is the API lifecycle must provide to the platform, and sort of like how that's used. There are a couple things in there that are like recommendations for the platform about how it should run a rebase if the base image changes or stuff like that. But I think the amount of things that are actually requirements of the platform are pretty small, and most of these are requirements of the lifecycle that the platform can choose to use as it sees fit.
The platform spec kind of started as a dumping ground for everything that didn't belong in the Buildpack spec, because we wanted to keep what is the thing that the Buildpack author needs to understand to make it work in one place, and all the other stuff you might care about that we want to specify in another place. And so I don't think anybody would push back on more improvement there, as long as, I think Emily made a good point about, we do have platform and Buildpack APIs, and that means something different than a specification, and making sure the definitions of those APIs are kept clean, probably makes sense.
Yeah, because I mean, my perspective is that it would be handy to have a spec that defined the lifecycle binaries and the interfaces to them, but the platform spec should be talking about which ones of those should be driven in which order. Like if you, let's face it, at the moment I'm just using creator because creator is the simple way of solving every problem in the book. But if you didn't want to solve creator, then the platform's got a lot more responsibilities that it has to do, because it's responsible for passing the same stuff. And I've hit some issues with the platform where trying to understand which directories need to have read, write, and create capability on it is ill specified in that way. Please don't take this as a dig. I realise how difficult it is to get a spec to a point where it would be magic and completely clean the first time round. But no, that isn't the goal here. This is a goal to say that there's still stuff there that I think that would benefit from being cracked off of that, so that and the main reason I want this is that when I'm looking at the platform spec, anywhere where it says must in the RFC sense of the word must, it has to be something a platform can implement, as in a platform implementation can implement without needing to go to a custom lifecycle implementation to solve that problem, right? Otherwise, you're not talking about a platform spec. The platform spec then includes the lifecycle, and it should be split apart in that spec into a subsection that says, now you go write your own lifecycle, and these are the responsibilities that has. But they're separate. You can't tie the two together, I think.
I think we should keep, I think the platform spec is really mostly a platform half of the lifecycle spec, but that spec doesn't specify what the platform should do when it interacts with Buildpacks, or that the Buildpack interactions part remains separate, should still be a goal, I think. I don't think we should combine the document together that says this is how Buildpacks work and the document that says this is how platform interfaces into the lifecycle. It probably needs to be like 5 different documents, right? At least.
Yeah, it's a few. But,
Yeah.
I mean, I just like to think of it as you need a spec that covers the part you need to write. And it shouldn't try and control things that are beyond the thing that you're trying to write. Whether the thing you're trying to write is a build pack, or whether it's a platform, or whether it's a lifecycle implementation. It shouldn't matter. You shouldn't need to know about the other concerns. You should know where your boundaries are, and write up until that boundary, and that's your defined interface to everybody else.
I don't think you get any pushback. I think it's just a time constraints thing.
Yeah, I know. Otherwise, I'd already have sent you something if I had the time to go any deeper. But I'll see what I can do.
Even though we've been bad at working on it, we really do appreciate the feedback, though.
Cool.
I didn't want you to take our silence there as not appreciative.
Joe says he's on his way, not to end without him joining, so we can talk about registry.
So this is where you do your stand-up routine until Joe gets here, Terrence.
I don't know if I have a stand-up team. I feel like I should delegate to Jesse on the stand-up routine. He has much more interesting things in his background with that tub kind of thing.
That's not funny at all. That's damage.
Was there something from the spec that you're talking to David about, Emily? I'm trying to find it quick.
More specific, please. The builder spec?
The builder spec. Okay.
What was the question? Where did you post the link? I'm sorry, Terrence, I didn't get what you were asking. Was there a specific question there?
It's that link. It's about basically if we need to prefix the platform API in front of the various TOML files, because a builder may be able to take multiple life cycles.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
I want to potentially move. I know he's not here, but I want to see if you can try to move some of this out of the leadership meeting and more into the working group.
Why would we need to have a platform API directory?
This was something I was thinking about when it comes to organizing files, in that, so right now Builder has a lifecycle, and that lifecycle, if it's our reference implementation, can support multiple APIs. And some of the files that lifecycle takes as input are baked onto the Builder. We haven't really addressed what happens if we make major changes to the schema of those files, because they wouldn't be the correct inputs for every API you could possibly run with the lifecycle. We've really gotten away with this mostly because we haven't made the types of changes to those files, but it's not something that we couldn't do according to the spec.
Why would we not use the current mechanism that we use for like the Buildpack TOML, which is to say that we use a key inside of the file to specify the API version versus a directory structure?
In general, I think it's because like a platform might be orchestrating this builder, and the platform may not support the API that you put in that file, right? So first of all, we don't allow multiple APIs to be used at the same time, so it have to be the same API in every file, and then it would take away control from the platform about what API to use.
Okay, yeah, this would definitely require some more brain power for me to wrap my head around it, because the way I'm thinking about it, right, it's like inputs and outputs from the API, the platform API is one thing, right? If I provide a file as an input to the lifecycle and tell it this is the API that I'm currently performing in or as, right, I would expect that the output of anything generated would also adhere to that specific platform API. But you're talking about things that have already been built into a builder, right? And I think that's where that's throwing me for a loop.
I think the addition of the builder spec brings this to light, because right now there are things that are baked onto the builder that we describe as a requirement of the platform. Like the platform must provide this input. And it just so happens that most platforms, the way they provide that input is by creating and running a builder image. But now there's overlap between the APIs. If you say that a builder has to have this exact file in it, but the platform also defines what that file looks like, which API does this file format belong to, and how do we determine compatibility between them?
Yeah, I'm definitely not a huge fan of the directory structure, just because I feel like that's going to open up a can of worm for a whole bunch of other directory structure focused, strategies. But so maybe we need to step back and figure out exactly like if there's other possible solutions. But I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, the directory structure is a bit of a straw man proposal, because I don't have a great idea for it, but I think it is a problem when we're talking about merging the builder spec. What do we do with the overlap where we don't have a good boundary between the two specs?
But I was somewhat under the impression that the current builder spec proposal, RFC, and this PR were to document what currently exists, right? And from what it sounds like, this would be a change to that. So wouldn't that be like a builder 02 change or implementation detail?
I think we're trying to start with something very similar to what currently exists, but we are introducing an API version, which doesn't currently exist. And I think it does make sense that we can make small changes to solve problems that would allow us to iterate on this in the future, right? I don't want to solve problems in the current implementation just for the sake of it, but I do want to merge something that would be upgradable, right?
So I guess my question or concern becomes, what happens to the current existing builders and its support within current existing platforms, right? If they don't adhere to this newly created spec, right? Are we considering it builders, builder API 00, right? That's kind of, I guess, more or less my concern.
I think because we've actually made changes to what builders look like over time and didn't clearly define them. In some ways, it's just an unspecified builder that the platform can choose to deal with how it wants. Builder API 0.
Only pack really defined builders, right? Like builders are a pack concept until it's in the spec. Is that correct?
Other platforms like KPack can create builders. I don't know if their builders look exactly the same as the ones Pack creates.
Yeah, and I think there's a difference between creating them which is a pack, task right now, and KPack in some sense. But then there's the other side of consuming them, right? Is we'll be making such a drastic change that I'm concerned about some of the side effects. I don't know. Probably something to continue thinking about. Did Joe make it in? Is he ready for his
He did.
spill?
I think my stalling tactic worked well enough.
Yeah, you started a whole different kind of worms. Now we got to go think about it.
Do you want to talk about the registry, Joe?
Sorry, what was that? I missed it.
Your turn. We want to hear
Okay.
about the registry.
Yeah, I just wanted to give an update on the launch, which is extremely close, but I need this sort of a call for help too, because I'm kind of underwater. It's blocked right now on the docs repo, which has some like Go mod thing that it works locally, but all of a sudden out of nowhere with no code changes started breaking on GitHub CI. It's that, and then another issue, just like a little link on the registry itself that I'll fix that. Those are the two blockers. If someone could help me take a look at the docs repo, it would be greatly appreciated. The other things that are nice to have before going out, let me pull this up. I reached out to Google again about getting their build packs into the registry. I don't know if there's anybody from Google on the call. But
Yeah,
Talked about it a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I was just saying that we talked about it, and we're not that happy about our interfaces between our build packs, so we're not really ready to put it up yet. Something we
okay,
want.
yeah. Let us know if there's anything we can do to help. I mean, we'd love to have them in the registry in one form or another, even if it's like a monolithic meta build pack that just includes all the build packs. It's sort of like what you have in the builder. So
Right.
That's something we'd be happy to help with too.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I think Heroku and Paketo, I think we're waiting on. We're not really waiting, but as long as we've got the docs thing blocking, there's some metadata updates for description and licenses that would be nice to have. And I have a docs link. Forget what this docs PR is. Oh yeah, this is just a minor thing. So that's the update. If you can lend a hand on the getting the docs repo working, I'd love it.
Yeah, I'll volunteer to pursue it. I'm not sure if I'll be the one doing it, but I'll see what I can do.
Thanks. But then otherwise, yeah, I think as soon as that's done, we'll do a blog, a tweet, and an email for those that use email. That was all for registry.
All right, I think that's it for today then. Everyone have a good one. Don't forget to add yourself to the roadmap.